Yep, episode 2. Time to continue my suffering and respond to the next part of this 6 hour long video. Hopefully, I won't die. That's what I'm hoping. I finish this video series before I die. Hopefully, I do.
Anyway, I chose Chikorita because it's correct. Bulky Pokemon do really well in these early games, and Chikorita gets early access to Reflect and Synthesis, two very potent moves.
So, who is the best out of Gen 2? That's a good question. Let's go through the gym challenge, shall we? In order of like first doing has to last in Johto is Falconer Flying, Bugsy Buck, Whitney Normal, Morty Ghost, Chuck Fighting, Jasmine Steel, Price Ice, Claire Dragon, Sarge Electric, Sabrina Psychic, Erica Grass. Who was that? Janie Poison, Misty Water, Brock Rock, Blaine Fire, and Blue no specialty. So Blue doesn't matter. But all the others have type matches that are better for the fire type. And since Brock and Misty are at the end, you will have Pokemon to deal with them. But as opposed to Kanto, where you're at the beginning, so you have to front load your preparation. So Chikorita is not the best one. It is actually Typhlosion who is the best start overall, with having super effective moves against. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, that's not effective. 4. It's 4 of the gyms. Second is Typhlosion with super effective moves against. Wait, he only has 2. Okay, Typhlosion only has 2. And then last is Chikorita with the least amount of super effective moves, which is 0. No, it's 1. 1 in Brock in game. So yeah, it does not make sense for you to use Chikorita. I mean, obviously use what Pokemon you want. But if you want to say it's the best, Typhlosion is the best just by type matchup alone. I don't get to move pools and all that. That'd be another. I'd have to do that in a different video. That's not this video.
Now, I think Silver is one of the less interesting rivals. He's just an edgy, sore loser who slags off everyone around him and talks about how great and strong and special he is, all the while getting bodied every time you see him. He reminds me too much of Hop, just with a worse attitude.
Now, I like this comparison to Hop because you can technically say they have similar characters. They both live in the shadows of somebody much greater. Hop, his brother Leon, and Silver, his father, Giovanni. Now, if you pay attention to the lore, the story, the thing you spam A through, which while isn't always bad, it's not always, or isn't always good, it's not always bad. Sorry. Yeah, he tells you. Well, he doesn't outright tell you, but if you did the post-game story, which you later say you didn't, you will learn that Giovanni is his father, and it changes his entire character from the beginning, thus making this game one of the better games when it comes to storytelling in Pokemon, in my opinion. Because it gives you a character that you don't know anything about, that slags you off, as Lily said. But at the end, you learn it's not so much him slagging you off, it's more he doesn't know how to live in his father's shadow, and because of that, he slags you off. He's a sore loser because his father was beat by you last game. But yeah, it's there's a lot more to the character than Lily's making out to be. Lily just doesn't understand the characters, which again isn't something new to Lily's videos.
Anyway, then you have your first real fight with your rival, and I crushed him with Butterfree, whose bloodlust was sated, for now. And I take back what I said before, Kyle Ron isn't one of the less interesting rivals. He's the worst fucking rival in the entire damn series. I fucking hate this kid. See, in Gen 1, you and your boyfriend have a good dynamic, you playfully slag each other off, but there's affection and competitive spirit there. Gen 2's rival just shows up, rants about his strongman rhetoric, loses to you, and then overcompensates. And he never gets any better unless you go way too far out of your way to find the special events with him, which I never did because I don't care about his redemption arc. He's just this obnoxious burden every time he shows up, and I resent the rest of the fanbase for fixating on him and acting like he was the best rival just because he was broody and emo. That's the only reason you like this guy, because he was emo, and that's what you think good writing is. Silver and Hop are fundamentally the same character, it's just that one of them is superficially emo and the other isn't.
Alright, first off, Lily, I don't think you can talk about what's good writing. And I will explain that in Gen 3 when the Pokemon in question comes into play. But for now, let's talk about Gen 2. You say that this character and Hop are basically the same. Yes and no. If you pay attention to his character, which I know you don't like doing because this game for children annoys you when you have to pay attention to the story for 5 seconds, it's simple. His father's Giovanni, who also had a strong man rhetoric. So of course a child trying to find his father, trying to live up to his father's name, is going to have the same rhetoric. Like, look at the amount of kids in any society that follow the same ideology that their parents have. It's the same thing, just over time as you play the game, you beat him to the point where he realizes, hey, maybe my father's rhetoric was wrong. Maybe I don't have to be a douchebag. But again, you don't like it when characters have character arcs that make sense. You prefer to. We'll get to it next gen. As all he says, we'll get to it.
But wait, I thought Whitney was super hard and Butterfree has a 4x weakness to fucking Sleep Powder and Flash, guys. This isn't rocket science.
Whitney. A very, very contentious topic in Pokemon. In Pokemon. This is going to be a hot take. Whitney is difficult if you make it difficult, which is what most people want. They want Pokemon to be more difficult. So because of that, they impose rules on themselves. Nuzlocke. Good example. So let's say the route you get Caterpie, you get a Weedle. Well, then you lose Butterfree. Easy. And you'll just SOL. You have to plan around Whitney and Bugsy. But Bugsy's easy. You just take the fire starter and wipe him. Anyway. Yeah, it's difficult when people make it difficult on themselves. The game mode for children that anyone over the age of 10 could easily understand. However, people make these games difficult on themselves. And Whitney is always like a run killer for Nuzlocke because of how difficult she is in a Nuzlocke set. I want you, if you think she's so easy, do a Nuzlocke. Do a Nuzlocke of the game and beat Whitney. And then make a video about that. And you can see how easy or difficult it is. You're not going to do that because you're bad at games, but still.
And value can fuck off if it makes the game less fun. This is why only pathetic sacks of shit think shiny Pokemon have any actual value. They're such a pain in the ass to get that most people just won't bother, and not bothering is the smart decision. Value is entirely subjective.
I have 2 boxes in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, almost entirely devoted to shiny Pokemon. I will begin more as I need more, because shiny Pokemon are not hard to get anymore. Let's do some math, shall we? Okay. Back then, it was 1 in 8,000, so I would agree with you that shiny hunter back then is a masochist wet dream. That's the only way you can get anything good. However, ever since Gen 6, I believe, it's been 1 in 4,000, a more doable number. However, starting Gen 6 or 7, I forget which one, there's this thing called a shiny charm. Now, it wasn't really gettable in Gen 6 or 7 due to national decks had to be filled, but in Gen 8 and 9, Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet, it is completely possible to get every single Pokemon in the Pokedex filled. Meaning, you can get the shiny charm, which cuts it down to 1 in 2,000. But that's not all. In Sword and Shield, the pseudo method cut that down to 1 in 1,000, because it cuts it down in half again. But let's get to Scarlet and Violet. Now, Scarlet and Violet has a mass outbreak mechanic. Now, what this means is, the more Pokemon you defeat in that outbreak, the higher chance of getting a shiny Pokemon is. So, let's say it's default for, as beginning, then it cuts it down to half, and half again, okay? It's not what it is, but that's roughly close to how it is. You can look it up to learn more about it. So, Mass Outbreak with default shiny odds is at most 1 in 1,000. That means if you use the shiny charm, it's 1 in 500. And if you add a sandwich on top of that, it's 1 in 200. You get what I'm saying? Like, shiny hunting in today's Pokemon is easier than doing a lot of things outside of shiny hunting. In Pokemon, like say, getting perfect IV Pokemon. That's pretty crazy in my opinion. I mean, I have some perfect IV Pokemon, don't get me wrong, but that doesn't mean it's easy to get. And it's easy to get a shiny Pokemon than to get a perfect IV Pokemon, in my opinion. That's just my opinion on the matter. Also, the value, I think the value is subjective. If I think, shiny Tarantula looks cooler than the default, then I want it. That's value to me. That's how all value is. It's done from anything. Is if you enjoy it, and if you enjoy it, then hey, guess what? It has value. Congrats. You're capitalistic in mindset. Just like how you said a minute ago that you didn't like the fact that God of War was locked behind the post game. I agree with that sentiment. However, that's because the Pokemon has value to you. You don't like it. You don't like the fact that you can't get it till later in the game. And while I agree with you that that's a bad thing to do, the games use examples of Gen 5, which is a soft reboot. They want you to use new Pokemon. So it makes sense for those games to lock the new old Pokemon behind post game. So again, I'm starting to feel like your hatred of Gen 5 especially is based on the fact that you don't understand Gen 5. Anyway, I'll be more talk about Gen 5 when we get to Gen 5. Right now, we're in Gen 2. We're 3 gens off of Gen 5, and I want to die already.
I know I would hate it if a Pokemon game withheld Gardevoir from me until the post-game, and several of them have done just that. When you have a game series like this where the actual value of individual Pokemon is so subjective, artificially withholding many of those Pokemon is just punishing the people who dare to actually like them. Just for comparison, there is a series of ROM hacks made by Drayano that increase the difficulty of the Pokemon games, but also make every Pokemon available. And just looking at a single route, there's such a huge variety of Pokemon in each area. Look at how many Pokemon around Route 30 in Sacred Gold alone. There is no universe where this isn't better. Having all that variety, being able to make a unique and varied team every game will always be better than whatever the fuck Gen 2 is doing. Gen 2 is needlessly restrictive in this regard. You just get so few Pokemon to work with, and with how flat the level curve is, it just feels bad. So many times playing through this, I found myself wanting to add a Pokemon to my team only to look it up and realize that I could only get it in Kanto or with an item I get in Kanto. I wanted to get an Octillery because I've never used one before, but I can't because I needed a Super Rod to fish for one even though it's in Johto. Oh, and it's not even available in Crystal version at all. Thanks, fuckers.
Now, knowing Pokemon, I decided to look at Brimerade, and sadly, she is right. You need Super Rod to get both Brimerade and Octillery. Now, why she only trusts both Octillery when Brimerade evolves into Octillery, I do not know. That is not my job to talk about. I just wanted to tell you that she is correct on one point. That's all. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Team Rocket was fun in the last game, but as I mentioned before, they're so pathetic and sad and in denial, I almost feel bad for fighting them, and the fact that every fight is a dull slog only makes fighting them worse. I don't just feel bad for them, I resent them for being so in denial that they're getting in the way of the game, which, in a sick and twisted way, is pretty dark storytelling. But it's Pokemon. I don't want to beat up people who are clearly depressed. This is the same problem World of Warcraft had recently. I don't want to beat up someone who doesn't deserve it.
This is going to be one of my biggest gripes of this video, and that's just the mischaracterization of Silver and the praising of the Rockets. Silver has more reason to be depressed because his father left him, and it's obvious if you pay attention to the story that he doesn't believe the strongman rhetoric. He's using it to cope with the fact that his father left him. He thinks if he's strong enough, his father will come back. While the Rockets are just delusional and thinking Giovanni will come back. You are saying that the Rockets are annoyingly good because of this, basically. But the Rockets are more annoying than Silver is, because at least Silver's character being depressed and believing the strongman rhetoric to cope makes sense from a story standpoint. His father left him. The Rocket Grunts lost their boss. That's a power vacuum, so I have to fill it. But nobody can fill the spot that Silver's father left. Well, somebody could, but nobody's going to. And that's more depressing than the Rockets. You are fucking stupid if you believe that the Rockets are better than Silver. And how you phrase it here, you do. But again, you don't care about storytelling in these games. And again, I'll get into it in Gen 3 when this matters. But man, this is really annoying to me for no reason. I hate how Silver's being characterized. Silver's annoying, sure. Just like Hop is annoying. But you have to understand the characters in order to say which one's the most annoying. Barry. But yeah, yeah, I have nothing to say. It's just annoying. This entire video is annoying. It's gonna give me an aneurysm.
Crap. I have to have one more fight with Kyle Ron, who I'm realizing just a little bit too late that I should have named Hunter.
Ah, yes. Misunderstanding two characters fundamentally. Well, let me explain who Hunter is. Hunter is the outhouse character that is also called the Golden God, okay? Hunter's character is fundamentally tragic due to how he is born, or how he was born, and his place in the story. His place in the story is being Belos' punching bag, essentially. The dog Belos uses to get shit done. Who's Belos? Doesn't matter. He's the bad guy. How was Hunter born, you are asking properly. Probably not, but let's assume you are. He is a zombie, essentially. A zombie born with the only purpose of serving his brother. So take that in. He is a zombie with no recollection of his past, whose only purpose in life is to serve his tyrant brother. The character that I would actually call closely similar to the Nazis compared to, let's say, gyms, for example, because you don't know storytelling. Anyway, yeah, I'm just annoyed at the Owl House catching a stray in this Pokemon video. Don't worry, Lily, you'll be catching some strays in the next video, hopefully. Hopefully it's the next video. Hopefully it's on this one. Hopefully there's enough of this one left I can talk about it. I'm dying already.
Yeah, so, I'm gonna be honest here, I'm not a fan. While it is ultimately Gen 1 but with more stuff, Gen 2 is completely hamstrung by its extremely stingy offerings of Pokemon.
Wait, but there's an entire half the game left. You have to fight Red. You're not done yet. You still got more to do. You got 8 more badges in Red. That's not post-game, that's part of the actual game. It's the second... Okay. Maybe, you know what? I'll leave it a bit for that. Maybe she did beat Red, okay? And she just talked about her thoughts on Gen 2 overall. But I'll finish this part and maybe end it. Depends how long it goes. Let's see. But, no, she doesn't mention it anymore. She only beat the Elite Four. That's half the game. And then she goes on to complain about the Pokedex and Pokemon and all that. And I don't blame her for that. I think that's a big issue with Gen 2 is the fact that half the Pokemon are locked to Kanto. But that the character's part of the main game. It's not post game. Use Cerulean Cave as an example, but Cerulean Cave is main game. I mean, not main game, post game. Where Red is main game. I don't understand. This one wants to be shorter because Gen 2 is apparently one I can't argue about because a lot of my complaints are valid and it stems from the Pokemon in it, so I can't complain. Anyway, I'll see you on the next video where I talk about Gen 3, I guess. Bye.